Have you ever been on a train before? Heck, have you ever been on a runaway mine train before? Heck, have you ever been on a runaway mine train that tries to kill you with one single airtime hill? Well, if you have or haven't, guess what? This ride tries to kill you. This is the Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Great Adventure. Supposedly a family roller coaster, it is made by Aerodynamics and opened pretty much with the park, like 3 days after the park in on July 4th in 1974. Yeah, this is a 50-year-old ride as of the making of this review for the Runaway Mine Train. And I was able to get a lot of good rides on it so far this season and even more to come. And I'm going to talk about my personal review of what I think of the Runaway Mine Train. How does it stack up amongst the rest of the park and even other mine trains that I have ridden? Sit back, relax, and you definitely want to hang on because that airtime hill, that death hill, is right around the corner. Hang on tight.
Now get ready. Here we go.
As mentioned earlier, the Runaway Mine Train opened with the park on July 4th, 1974, 3 days afterwards. It has a 44-inch minimum height requirement and could theoretically have a capacity of 1,000 riders an hour. Has a height of 60 feet, 39-foot drop. There's really no big drops on this ride except for the one halfway through. Top speed about 38 miles per hour, about 2,400 feet in length, and roughly has a 2-minute duration from leaving the station to getting to the brake run. It's a pretty solid duration for this kind of ride, and I have to start before we even get to the layout. This ride is gorgeous. It is a beautiful setting. The finale of the ride is this turn that goes over the lake, and you get some really, really amazing views and some really good footage from anywhere in the park and has a lot of photo potential. It's a really amazing, amazing sight to see. Now let's get into the ride layout. As soon as you dispatch the station, you advance forward. You go down a very slight dip that picks up a little bit of speed. As you go past a set of switch tracks, you take a slight bend over to the left before rising up the chain lift that takes you up to the max height of 60 feet. This goes over a set of pathways that most people take to get to Medusa, so you get some really good sights from that. After that, you drop down a little bit after reaching the 60-foot height requirement, and you have a helix. This helix is pretty solid. It does have a little bit of a jank to it as you pass over some of the grooves, but that's just a typical old aerodynamic cliche. The ride is not intentionally meant to be smooth, but for what it does, it's good enough. As you get used to it, you just get used to it more and more often to the point where you don't really feel that much of a jolt, but there is a noticeable jolt as you go over a couple of the grooves of this helix. Afterwards, you go up a hill, and then you go down. There's no airtime here. It just kind of glazes over it. And then by then you are to the side of the arena and you take this right-hand turn, which could give you some good laterals if you're sitting in the front. Otherwise, if you're sitting in the back, it's a much more luxurious ride and it's not as jarring, we'll say. After this is their quote-unquote mid-course brake run that doesn't really do anything. It's more used for safety and sensors and such. After this, you take that drop. That is your 39-foot drop that banks over to the right. It kind of goes around over the path. You can get some good sights of it when you're going from underneath El Toro again to Medusa over the bridge. And this is where you get this really violent jerk. And this jerk just throws you to the left. If you're not ready for it, you are going to get launched. It's pretty frightening of a launch. It's super jarring, and it does throw you way out of whack. Don't know if there's much they could do about it, but I'm hoping that they could find a way to make that a little bit more smoother and not as sudden. As you keep wrapping yourself around, you then go down an you go down a hill, which then leads you into the super ejector hill that then sends you over the water to the Runaway Mine Train epic, iconic finale as you rise up, laterally move over to the right as your car turns left, and you hit the brake run. This ride has a lot of things going for it, but one of the things I really want to highlight is that final airtime hill. And yes, it is true ejector. This airtime hill in particular is the one of the main reasons that I always come back to ride the Runaway Mine Train at this park. I could go to El Toro and marathon it, but occasionally I like to visit Frontier Adventures to ride the Runaway Mine Train because of this hill. This hill in particular throws you out of your seat. However, you have to be in the front car, specifically row 2. You get some mad, insane airtime. You are yeeted out of your seat, no matter how tight that restraint is on you, and you are sent flying to Mars. I swear this thing just throws you and sends you into the asteroid field well past Mars when you are hitting the crest of that hill. And you sustain that airtime all the way down until you get to the turnaround that takes you into the brake run. It is an absolutely mental element, and if you're not ready for it, it's going to surprise you, and it could really mess with you. I love that this ride has something like this. I don't know if it was exactly the intent of this ride, but a lot of people could make the claim that this is the best airtime in the park, this one hill alone, and I would understand that argument greatly. Especially since El Toro is directly next to this ride, pretty much. I think that this airtime hill in particular is the best moment on Runaway Mine Train. That's a certain for me. Is this the best airtime moment in the park? That's a whole nother question for another day. But yeah, this is a moment in itself that keeps me wanting to go back on the Runaway Mine Train. If you sit in the back row, you don't get too much of it. My thing is that if you sit in the back, you're gonna get a smoother ride, but you're not going to get as much of an intense ride as you would in the front. The front, for me, is the best row on the Runaway Mine Train purely because of this airtime hill that you need to experience. As of right now, I would definitely make the argument and say that the Runaway Mine Train is the best family coaster right now at Six Flags Great Adventure. And it really isn't that close. Comparing it to the other family rides that I have ridden, this is certainly up there, even though it's mostly trumped by all of its other competition that are very similar to it, such as other roller coasters I've done, like Big Thunder Mountain, Magic Kingdom, and even any other roller coaster really at Disney for that matter. And even some of like the family coasters that I have ridden previously, that I could think of off the top of my head. Runaway Mine Train still holds its own even after 50 years. It's a really, really good ride, and it truly is a classic with this park. Much like what I said with the El Toro review, I said that that Great Adventure wouldn't be without El Toro. And quite honestly, I don't think Great Adventure would be without Runaway Mine Train. It's that much of a classic to me that it just holds on so much to it. Now, it obviously doesn't rank as high as the other rides that are in the park, but it still holds its own very well and definitely deserves some attention. Its roughness definitely pulls it back a little bit, and sitting in the back also does pull it down a little bit in terms of the ranks and my official final ranking, but a front row ride is truly life changing. Hope you guys enjoyed this review of the Runaway Mine Train. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and always think your ride ups. I can't talk today, but yippee. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the parks. Goodbye.
Here we go.